Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake-Up Call podcast. I am your host, Melissa Deely, and excited to bring you a wonderful topic today in regards to the power of your unconscious mind. And before I get there, I just want to share a beautiful review that we received lately at my new company, Amplify Impact Academy. And this is from Rosalind Fung, a transformational leadership coach and TEDx speaker in Edmonton, Alberta. And she says, to say the least, Melissa and Billy's NLP Plus practitioner training was one of the most mind-blowing courses. And I have taken a lot of incredible training to work with the unconscious mind already as a former psychologist certified in somatic modalities. And this training is an incredible one to have quick, fast results with. Woohoo, time to buckle up. And more importantly, Melissa and Billy are clearly two very powerful trainers who teach and facilitate the course in a way that they hold sacred space and create a container of safety. They have incredible patience and explain things that honor our learning styles and who we are. The trainers, Dr. Tony and Dawn, were also incredible space holders. It is evident through how they all showed up, the passion and depth they have for this work. I can see why. I am absolutely ready to take the master level. This was so mind-blowing. 100 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much, Rosalind, for that beautiful review. We certainly loved having you in our 8-day NLP Plus practitioner training. And leading into today's show, that is a beautiful segue, because one of the biggest aspects of the training that we offer is teaching people about the power of their unconscious mind. You know, we go through life, we go through school, and we learn all about our conscious mind, our thinking, problem-solving mind. And we don't necessarily learn about the other 90%, our unconscious mind. And today I want to give you an introduction to that and teach you about the role of the unconscious mind, what it is doing for you each and every day that you don't even stop to think about because it's entirely unconscious. And some of this learning you will be able to take away and make some really small shifts in your life that have profound impact for you. So as we've said, the conscious mind makes up 10% of your mind, and it is your problem solving, your thinking mind. It is the home of your willpower. It is the home of your mental body, and it is your goal setter. Meanwhile, your unconscious mind is the other 90% of your mind, and it is the home of your emotional body. It is the home of your imagination, and it is responsible for everything to do with your memories. It will store every memory from every event that you've ever experienced in your entire life, without judgment, as if in a filing cabinet. If you've ever seen the movie Bruce Almighty and they open up the filing cabinet and the drawer goes all the way down the driveway, that's kind of what I think of it. Because, you know, every event in your life, that's a lot of events, right? And they're just all filed without judgment for later access by your conscious mind if needed. And what the unconscious mind does with our memories is part of what we call the prime directives, or the job of the unconscious mind, right? So first off, it will store those memories, and it will store them temporarily, as in relation to time, so that you can remember, oh yeah, that vacation we went on, that was last June. Or atemporally, which is not in relation to time. And that would be your memories of language. You don't need to know time in order to remember the word that you want to use in the next sentence, right? So temporally or atemporally, all memories are stored without judgment. And it organizes those memories along a timeline or a gestalt. A gestalt is a grouping of similar events. So say you have similar events that make you feel happy, then those all get stored on a line of a happiness gestalt. And you have events that are similar that might make you feel sad, and those ones are formed on a line, a gestalt of sadness. Your unconscious mind will also repress memories with unresolved negative emotion, because your unconscious mind is always working for you. It is like a servant. It wants to serve you. And its number one job is to keep you alive, to preserve your body, despite what you may do to it. And so as a result, when it comes to the memories, it will repress memories of unresolved negative emotion until it deems that you are safe for it to bring those emotions forth, and for your conscious mind to then be able to resolve and release. And it will then, at that time when it deems that you feel safe, it will present those repressed memories to the conscious mind to address, resolve, and release the emotions. And often at that point, we put the hand up and go, no, I don't want to deal with it. We call that a trigger, right? Something will happen that triggers you, that brings back that emotion, or that memory, I should say. And that is bringing it forth now for you to deal with it. So this explains why people in war zones don't get PTSD in the war zone. They get it when they come home. Or first responders, they're dealing with a horrific car accident. They don't start getting into their emotions in the moment and breaking down because what they're seeing is so horrific. They're literally responding based on their training, and there's no emotion in it at all, because the unconscious mind has suppressed and repressed all of that so that they can get on with the job that they need to do in the moment to help the people that they're helping, or in the case of the military folk, to keep them alive so that they can focus on what they need to do to stay alive. And then once they're out of all of that horror and they're home and they're safe, then that's when the unconscious mind will bring forth those memories in the form of a trigger for us to then address them and release those unresolved emotions. However, what happens is society teaches us to shove it back down. No, I don't want to deal with that now. Too much on the plate, on the go. I don't know how to deal with it. And I'm just going to push it back down. And that's where, again, one of the modalities that I work with is so incredibly powerful here, called timeline therapy, because using timeline therapy, we're working with the fact that the unconscious mind stores the memories on a timeline and has suppressed those negative emotions. And we will use timeline therapy to release them without even having to talk about the event, because the unconscious mind, it already knows what happened. It stored the memory. You don't have to talk about it again. Talking about it again deepens the neurology. What we instead want is we want the learnings from that, because in reality, everything is happening for us to learn something. And when we get the learnings, that is how we can then release the emotions. And so this is a really powerful technique that we use working with the unconscious mind that allows us to release the stuffed down emotion. And we release the 7 major negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, and shame in one session. And that allows all of that to be released from your body, leaving you feeling so much lighter, so much freer. We get to the end of sessions and people are like, wow, that's the first time it's quiet in my head It's the first time I have peace in my head. And some people are so blown away, at the end of the session, they, in a very positive way, use language that wouldn't be appropriate for this show, such as holy, because they notice the difference immediately in how they feel and what is going on inside their head. And that's not all the unconscious mind does. So we've said that its number one job is to preserve the body despite what you may do to it, and that it's responsible for storing your memories and organizing them and repressing memories of unresolved negative emotions, and then bringing those memories forth to be dealt with at a time when you feel it knows that you're feeling safe. It also runs your body. Think about it. When was the last time you actually consciously told your heart to beat or told yourself to inhale? Perhaps you told yourself to take a deep breath. However, when you're asleep during the night, are you consciously telling your body to breathe? No, because this is all being run by the unconscious mind. Every breath you take, every second of every day, your heart is pumping every second of every day. Your digestive system is breaking down the food that you're eating and moving the nutrients into the cells so that you can have the energy to get through your day every time you eat. And you don't give any of this a moment's thought because it's entirely unconscious. Excuse me. And so in running your body, your unconscious mind has a blueprint of your body now and of your perfect health, which it can gain access to in your higher self, because the unconscious mind connects to the higher self. The conscious mind does not. And the higher self has all the resources that you need to live your best life and for your perfect health. The unconscious mind is also a highly moral being. To whatever morality it was taught and accepted, which is why we can have honor among thieves. You know, some people would say, based on the morality that they were taught, that Robin Hood was bad because you should never steal no matter what. And other people would say Robin Hood was doing good. He was taking from the rich and helping the poor. So it's whatever morality your unconscious mind was taught and programmed with as a child that it will follow. It also follows directions. As I said, it wants to serve. It wants to follow directions from someone it respects. And it controls and maintains all perceptions, both regular and telepathic. And it receives and transmits to the conscious mind. So the conscious mind and the unconscious mind communicate, and the unconscious mind and the higher self communicate. However, the conscious mind and the higher self do not communicate directly. In order to access your higher self that holds all of the resources, you must go through the unconscious mind, which is why understanding and having the tools to tap into your unconscious mind and get into the answers of your unconscious mind is really powerful. And this is where tools like hypnotherapy and timeline therapy and meditation and NLP techniques allow for very quick change. Meditation isn't really about change work. However, it is about tapping into the unconscious mind. The other tools are for quick, effective change. And we can do that in the unconscious mind because the other thing is the unconscious mind works at a much faster speed than the conscious mind. The unconscious mind also generates, stores, distributes, and transmits energy, all forms of energy. And we are all energy beings. And so that is all run through the unconscious mind and by the unconscious mind. It responds with instinct and habit. And in fact, all learning, all behavior, and all change is unconscious. So despite what they taught us at school that we were learning in our conscious mind, no, we are learning in our unconscious mind. That is the easiest place for us to learn. And think about it. When children are born, it's like being the software, the hardware of a computer. And over the next 6 to 9 years, it's download, download, download all the software in order to learn how to smile, roll over, crawl, sit up, walk, talk, the rules of the house, the rules of school, the rules of society, language. We are learning so much in those early years of life. And our children are entirely in their unconscious mind until they're about 7 to 9 years old, at which point they develop the critical faculty, which is a lace gateway that divides the conscious and the unconscious mind. And it's laced so that there's still that ease of flow of communication between the unconscious and the conscious mind. And our kids can only learn that much that quickly because they are entirely in their unconscious mind. And remember, I said earlier that your unconscious mind is the home of your imagination. Well, kids, when they're playing and they're imagining, they are in it. They don't know the difference between reality and they're in it. So if you've got a child at home and they're riding a horse and you go along and ask them for the broom, they might give you a weird look because it's not a broom to them. It's a horse. They're riding a horse. Why are you asking me for a broom? I don't know where the broom is. And it'll take them a second. They are entirely in their unconscious mind. And that is where we do our best learning. And we learn in the unconscious mind, and then we want to implement the behavior in order to create the change. You need to have both to get the change that you want. Just learning is not enough. It's the learning plus the behavior, which is the action steps. And that then deepens the neurology in order to create the change or the new neurology that you're looking for. And so just reading a book and then putting it on the shelf, it was a great book, great self-help book, loved everything that was in it, and then do nothing with it, well, you wonder why nothing changes. That's called shelf development. When you read the book and there's action steps in the book, which many self-help books have, you follow the action steps. That's what's leading to the change that you're looking for. The unconscious mind needs repetition for long-term projects. So as I was saying, we learn something, we create new neurology. I call that creating a bunny trail. And then we have to practice it. And as we practice it, that bunny trail becomes a 2-lane road, and then a 4-lane road. And then it's a 2-lane highway and a 4-lane highway and a 6-lane highway. And by then, that neurology is deep enough that your brain will automatically run that. And that is how you build neurology, is through repetition. The unconscious mind is also programmed to continually seek more and more. It always wants to learn. And that's why in this lifetime, we jokingly say at Amplify Impact Academy that you never want to stop learning, because you're either growing and learning or you're dying and dead. And we don't want that. So keep learning. And your unconscious mind will direct you on the path as to what is next for you in terms of your learning. When you tap into that intuition and that guidance, it's all within you. Because remember, the resources are all in the higher self, and the unconscious mind can connect to that. So never stop learning. There is always more to discover, and no one of us can ever know everything. You just don't get to be done. Keep learning. Be curious. It's a wonderful place to live your life from. The unconscious mind does not need parts to function. We want to bring all of us to everything, and all of the tools that we use when we're working with the unconscious mind is about bringing people to wholeness and bringing people to more choices. So often when we're working with people, the reason we're working with them is they're stuck. They're stuck because remember that programming I was talking about before that was downloaded in that 0 to 7 age group? Well, that no longer works in our adult life. Your inner 5-year-old is not qualified to run your adult life. And then we get stuck. And we're stuck because we don't see the resources. We don't see the solutions. We don't think there's a way out. And yet, in this work, and having a new perspective from somebody else that's outside of you, I heard a saying earlier today that the frame can't see the picture that's in it, right? we don't see it for ourselves. It takes an outsider's perspective to hold up the mirror and show us what's going on. And when we then understand that, and we can work with a practitioner to bring our parts together into wholeness and give us more choices, guess what? The solutions show up. We are no longer stuck. And of course, that's what we want. We want to get unstuck and move forward in our path. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It does take some effort from you, because remember, we got to build new neurology, and you have to make a choice to seek out a practitioner that can work with you and help you get unstuck. However, this work, the unconscious mind is so fast. 10 to 12 hours of coaching. 10 to 12 hours of coaching. It can be done all in one day. It can be done within 30 days. When we work with neurology, we want to get it all done in 30 days, because we kind of open up the neurology, we get rid of what's no longer serving, and we create new neurology, and then we get you practicing it. We want to have all of that done within 30 days to shift your life profoundly and get you unstuck and put you on the path that you always wanted to be on, and have the tools that you can then use. These are life skills that you can use for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, they're not taught at school. I truly wish they were. This is not difficult to learn. My business partner teaches her children who are 7 and 8 years old. And we truly believe that if every kindergartner was taught these tools, the teachers would have a much easier time in the classroom, because the kids would know how to manage their own state. And kids love this stuff, because guess what? They're already in kindergarten, they're still in their imagination. They're still entirely in their unconscious mind. So it's really easy for them to tap into this work. And as you can tell, I love these tools. I love learning about the power of my unconscious mind and implementing these tools in my life and sharing this with others. Because if your life feels hard, it means you're using the wrong tool for the job. It doesn't have to be hard. And that doesn't mean there's no effort. Yes, you need to put effort in, because remember, you have to build a neurology. However, it doesn't have to be hard. And if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling life is hard, then reach out and let's talk. Let's get you learning the tools of the unconscious mind that will shift everything for you, not just for today, for the rest of your life. Because again, they're tools that become life skills that you implement every day. The unconscious mind is also highly symbolic. It uses and responds to symbols. It uses very few words. It works with sounds, feelings, and pictures. Think of it as being like a 2-year-old, a toddler. It doesn't have a big vocabulary. So when I'm working with someone and we're doing unconscious work, if they come out with a whole sentence, I know they're not in their unconscious mind. If they come out with just a symbol that to their conscious mind might not even mean anything, I know that that is a message from their unconscious mind. It is highly symbolic. And it takes everything personally. And I really want you to pay attention to this, because this is something that you can start to shift today after listening to this podcast. The unconscious mind cannot distinguish between self and other. So everything that it hears, it takes personally. So who are you hanging around? Are you listening to the news? It's taking it personally. Are you listening to people who love to complain around the water filter at work, the water tower at work? Who are the people in your life? Are they people that are joyful and lifting you up and excited about life? Or are they people that are, complainers? Your unconscious mind is taking all of that in. And when you hear people say things that you don't want your unconscious mind to take in, you can just go cancel, 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 and block it. And also, what are you saying inside your own head? Start to create some awareness around that. What are the thoughts inside your own head? Are they lifting you up? Are they thoughts as if you're talking to someone that you love or not? Because if they're not, you want to start creating awareness around that. Hold up a stop sign every time the thought inside your head is not a thought that you want your unconscious mind to take on. And I'm going to share a little really powerful story with you as to how the unconscious mind takes everything personally. So Tad James, who was the creator and researcher and developer of timeline therapy, 33 years of research went into this powerful tool for helping people release their negative emotions and overcome their trauma, et cetera, et cetera. He was working with a client who made a lot of money and then lost a lot of money. And he made a lot of money and then he lost it all. And he was tired of that cycle. And so he went to Tad James in order to release whatever limiting decisions he had and any emotions attached to that in order that he could break through that and he could make money and keep it. And during that session, they discovered that when he was in the womb, because remember, the unconscious mind remembers everything. So the unconscious mind let him know when he was in the womb at about 7 months gestation, he heard his parents fighting over money. And so his little mind decided money isn't good. I don't want money. Money is bad. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And his mother was still alive. So he actually went and talked to his mother about this. And he said, hey, Mom, when you were 7 months pregnant with me, were you and Dad fighting a lot about money? And his mother responded and said, your dad and I fought about many things. However, we never actually fought about money. And so they were both a little bit perplexed about this. And he went home. And later that night, she called him because she realized what had happened. And when she was 7 months pregnant with her son, her husband had been traveling. And so she was watching a TV show that she really liked. And in that TV show, the husband and wife argued over money. So the little unconscious mind of the baby in the womb was hearing the TV show, and based on that, decided that money was bad. And he was then living that in his adult life of making a lot of money and then losing it all because money was bad. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And once they understood that, they were able to release that so that he could then go out and make money and hold on to it. So what messaging are you feeding to your unconscious mind? And what's really important is, what do you feed it right before you go to bed? Because your unconscious mind will work all night long on whatever you feed it right before you go to bed. Are you feeding it the 11 o'clock news? Because, that's all drama and it's all scary and fear-based. So you don't want to do that. Are you feeding it some shoot 'em up TV show? And that's okay. Like, I like the shoot 'em up TV shows too. However, it's not the last thing I watch before I go to bed. I don't have a TV in my bedroom, and I don't want one in my bedroom because I still have a gap between when I turn off the television and then I will read a book. And then the last thing I do is I do my gratitude journal because I want to feed my unconscious mind what I'm grateful for so that it can work on that all night long and I can have a much deeper, more restorative sleep as a result of that positivity that I fed it as the last thing before I go to sleep. And so that too is something that you can take away and you can implement tonight and really pay attention to what is the last thing you feed your brain before you go to sleep. And notice the difference in how you sleep. Because sometimes I'll get my head stuck into a really good book. And then I will turn out the light and I will forget to do my gratitude journal. And I don't sleep well. And I wake up several times through the night. And my mind is writing the rest of the book. And I'm tossing and turning as my mind is trying to write the next few chapters. Versus if I had done the gratitude journal, that doesn't happen. And when I realize that, I have become much better at completing my gratitude journal as the last thing before I turn out the light. Now, the unconscious mind also, it has so much to do. I've been talking here for almost half an hour on all of the things that the unconscious mind does for you. So it wants to use the path of least effort, right? It wants to be efficient. And therefore, it is using the path of least resistance, which means it is just going to run whatever it runs that works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And so that's how you can end up in your adulthood with a program from when you were 5 years old, still running your life and running your behavior. And you are operating on your programs 95% of the day. And if you're not sure about that, you can go back and listen to the Bruce Lipton podcast I did last August in 2024. I believe it's episode 184. You can check that out because he talks all about that. Your unconscious mind will run whatever is deepest because that is the path of least resistance until you consciously choose to create new neurology and then practice it to deepen it into the 8-lane highway so that it becomes the new path of least resistance. And lastly, and this was a big one, the unconscious mind does not process negatives. So every time you say something like, don't let me forget the tickets if you're heading out the door to a concert or a game or something like that, your unconscious mind hears, let me forget the tickets. It doesn't hear the don't at the beginning of that sentence. You need to reframe that and say, help me remember the tickets. When you say to children, young children, don't run, it's slippery. What do? They run because the unconscious mind doesn't process the negative. Instead, you want to say, it's slippery. Please slow down. If I were to say to you, don't think of a blue tree, it is literally biologically impossible for you to not think of a blue tree. And then your mind will go, okay, she doesn't want me to think of it because now you're consciously thinking about it. And then you think of a green tree. However, first you thought of the blue tree when I said, don't think of a blue tree. The unconscious mind does not process negatives. And again, a story from my own experience when I was about 5 years old. I was sitting on the kitchen counter right next to the stovetop cooking with my mom. And she plopped me up on the counter and she turned on the element and she said, don't touch that, and turned around and went to get something out of the fridge. And my little unconscious mind, it just heard touch that. And remember, it wants to serve and follow instructions. And so I touched the element and I burnt my hand. And again, the unconscious mind is really quick. So you feel something hot and it's preserving the body. My hand was off before I even had time to consciously think about it. And yet I still burnt my hand. And my mother turned around and went, I just told you not to do that. Why would you do that? Because my unconscious mind and all of our unconscious minds don't process negatives. And I never knew that until I started doing this work. And my kids were already teenagers at that time. I wish I'd known that when they were younger, because how many times did I say to them, don't run, don't do this, don't do that? I had no idea. And that's why I bring this work to you, because that is something else that you can implement in your life starting today, is when you are talking to other people and even talking to yourself in your own mind and having conversations. Get rid of the negatives. Help me remember the tickets. Help me remember my glasses or my phone, whatever it is. Slow down. Please walk. Get rid of those negatives. And they'll creep in because it's habit. If you use them and then you watch somebody do exactly what you told them not to do, you'll know why. And it's not their fault. It's you are using the wrong language to communicate with that child's unconscious mind. Because remember, they're entirely in their unconscious mind. So I hope you found this episode fascinating. I've just presented you with 20 different jobs of your unconscious mind. And some of them you may have heard of before, been a little bit aware of. And I bet you there's some there that you had no idea about. And I hope that some of the action steps that I've given you, because remember, all learning, all behavior, all change is unconscious. That if you implement the action steps that I've given you, that you will see the change in your life for the better. And that gratitude journal is so incredibly powerful. Literally, the year I started my gratitude journal, at the end of that year, I was asked at a conference, sitting around a lunch table, what was the one thing you did this year that had a profound impact on your life? And I thought, wow, that's a really deep question. And then my unconscious mind answered it for me. My gratitude journal. Because when I started writing my gratitude journal, I was training my unconscious mind to look for the positive, look for the things that I liked. I was training that reticular activator system in my unconscious mind to want more of that. And as I looked for more of that, I received more of that. And I literally started feeling like my life was easy, that I had more peace and joy, that I was walking on air. And if you want more of that in your life, that is such a simple step. to get started with, and do that as you go to sleep at night, and give your unconscious mind all of that peace and joy and goodness to rest on all night long. So thank you for tuning in and listening to another Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. Really appreciate that you care about your health, that you want to learn and grow. And if you enjoyed this episode and you know someone else that should hear it, please send it off and share it with them. And I'll be back next week with a guest on the show. Do you currently work with clients through some aspect of transformation in their lives, whether it be in their health, their relationships, their business, their careers? And would you like to be able to help them achieve their goals even more quickly with powerful tools? In fact, the most powerful mind-body tools on the planet? If so, you're going to want to know about this training course that I am running starting in October, at the end of October. It is the 8-day mind-body practitioner training, which will train you at the practitioner level in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which works with the unconscious mind as we rewire their strategies, their patterns, etc., to get them to break through and get the transformation they're looking for. We also work with timeline therapy, which again is working with the unconscious mind as we release limiting beliefs, as well as detox the body of stored negative emotion, as well as working with hypnotherapy, a powerful tool for changing behaviors and creating the life that somebody wants with these new behaviors, and an NLP coaching designation, which is on par with the International Federation of Coaching, ICF certification. And once designated, your certifications or designations are recognized in 42 countries around the world. If you'd like to learn more about how you can bring these tools into your toolbox in order to have greater impact with your clients and change their lives, because I know that's what you want, please reach out and let's have a conversation.